That's wild. 2%.
The whole point of it.
That is wild.
Like,
that is
why
wild.
are we buying the PS5? You're going to put it everywhere else.
Now, the real question is, why would you continue to support PlayStation knowing damn well that all you PlayStation fanboys buy is third-party games? You know, the same games that are available everywhere else. I mean, the funny thing is you guys want to keep referencing Nintendo as if exclusive games matter, but yet it only matters to them. So what are you people blabbering about, man? How many companies are going to continue to come out and tell you that, yeah, we didn't make enough money with PlayStation? But yet you keep touting about, oh, people pick up the PS5 for exclusive game. No, they picked it up to play Grand Theft Auto 6, NBA 2K, Madden, and Fortnite. Why do you guys keep undermining this?
Right.
Yeah, what that you see? So the real challenge, right now, the PS5 is lucky because how it started. The PS6 is where the problem is going to be. That's going to be the problem for the PS6, and maybe Sony notices. We're like, wait a minute. It's like we sticking to our guns. They're selling a whole lot of consoles, more than they did before. Whole lot of games, and now. I mean, it's not a lot so far, but it's growing.
You said a whole lot of games just to go as far to say, well, it's growing. I mean, it's not there. What? Huh? What? That's a contradiction in what you just said. Oh, you know, they got a whole lot of games, but yet they ain't there right. What?
Getting back third party. Sony's got to be like, wait a minute. These guys are getting Final Fantasy. They're going to, they're getting some games. They're like, wait a minute.
They're getting PS4 games. What are you talking about, bro? They're getting games that was Street Fighter 6, PS4 game. Cyberpunk, its original development was on, something on the capabilities of a PlayStation 4. Yakuza 0, PS4 games. What are you talking about, bro? That's why you guys keep saying, oh, the Switch 2 is powerful, bro. No different than the PS5. Y'all playing nothing but over-glorified PS4 ports. And for people that disagree, well, look no further than God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Gran Turismo 7. All games that have been optimized for the PlayStation 5, which are also available on what, guys? The PS4. So what argument are we actually having? But go ahead.
I mean, shit, what's a third party?
Granted, Nintendo's, they decided to make a handheld, whatever, but if somebody says, you know what?
But where's this whole energy about the Switch 2 holding back gaming like y'all did with the Xbox Series S? Where's that energy? Oh, the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to hold back the power of the PlayStation 6 if they're going to continue to get the... Where's this energy? Because y'all said the same thing with the Series S, but yet for some reason the Switch 2 gets a free pass?
Nintendo's good enough for third party. I'll play it there, and Nintendo got exclusives. Problem for Sony. It is what it is.
Bro, so Nintendo barely even got voice chat. What are you talking? Oh, it's a problem for Sony. If they don't get Grand Theft Auto 6, guess what? Then there's nothing for Sony to worry about. And more likely that game won't drop on that platform. So what are you blabbering about?
If someone's willing to make concessions for exclusives, then they're going to do it. As long as they're confident, but you know what? I think I'm going to get some of these multiplats on Nintendo. If I play it on the go, but Nintendo got the exclusives. So I don't have to, so some customers could be like, I don't have to play the best version of Multiplat. I could play the worst version of the Multiplat.
And they're not going to do that, man. Ain't nobody going to downgrade themselves playing, let's just say, for example, a bad port. I mean, I think J-Dub brought up the fact that, what was it, one of the games it was comparing, and it looked far worse on the Switch 2. Ain't nobody going to be downgrading their gaming experience, regardless if it's portable or not. Especially when the game ain't even on the cartridge. They'll play it on the Switch 2, and I guarantee the only time that it looks the best is when you dock it, which kind of beats the purpose as to why you would play it on the Switch 2 in the first place.
These people don't exist, though. There's nobody out there with a Switch 2 that's buying third party games. They're just not.
Hey, yo, J-Dub just told us, man, he just finished drinking his water. He's like, those people don't even exist. Bro, hey, didn't you see the software sales for the third-party games? Puertorock, man, look at it. He's taking another L already, even from people in his own podcast, man. He said those people don't even exist.
The numbers,
yeah.
the numbers come out. They just come.
Look at that. He double backing again. Look at this crap, man. He said, "Yo, I gotta hear that again." They don't.
Multiplat, you know.
These people don't exist though. There's nobody out there with a Switch 2 that's buying third party games. They're just not. The numbers, the numbers come out. They just come.
Puertorock, they don't exist, and you know it, man.
No, but that's just that's a new concept though. It's a new concept because Nintendo's not the platform for third party since the Wii.
What you talking about? The Wii had a lot of third party. What are you talking about, bro? The Wii had, I remember seeing Madden, NBA 2K. If anything, the Wii was very known for third party. You mean the N64 and the GameCube? The Wii had a lot of third party. It did. Matter of fact, it had so much third party that they had so many games that they weren't even available on 360 and PS3. Most of them could be, shovelware, but still, the point still stands that a lot of companies made games for the Wii.
First time they getting back in the ropes, so you got to look at the 5-year plan or the 6-year plan. People start seeing like nobody looks at Nintendo as a third-party platform.
But for some reason, you think that third party is gonna flock to the platform. You just said it, bruh. Those people don't exist.
I mean, not since the GameCube. Hell, technically not since the N64. They lost that edge, so nobody looks at that. Nobody looks at them. But over time, let's see more multiplats, and Nintendo's the only one with exclusives, true exclusives. Let's put it this way: no one bought multiplats on the most powerful platform. That's never a thing. We made that up. That was never.
Oh, he said y'all made that up. Ooh. You see that? Puertorock got to get J-Dub on that one, man. You see the type of civil war that they got going on. He had to get J-Dub on that one because he made him look stupid saying that those dudes don't exist. Now Puertorock has to get his get back. Let's see what he has to say after this.
As long as the platform has exclusives, the multiplats were fine. As long as you could generally play it, people were fine with the multiplats. PlayStation was never no console was really dominated for having the best version of multiplats. It just never existed. In fact, you would say almost every console, that definitively had the best version of multiplats was never the number one selling console. That was never a huge metrics. It was always I got multiplats, but what else I get besides the multiplats? Oh, here are the exclusives, man. I'm gonna take that.
See, but a lot of those games on PlayStation 1 and 2 weren't really exclusives. They were just exclusive games at the time, if that makes sense. Metal Gear Solid. Obviously those games with the Xbox eventually. But like I said, PlayStation 1 and 2 has built a lot of its ecosystem off third-party games. It came to a point where you could only play anime games on a PlayStation 2, like Dragon Ball, Budokai. These games didn't come to the game. I think a few did. 1 and 2 did, because I still have them. But they didn't go to the Xbox. You didn't get Budokai 3 on it. You didn't get Infinite World. You didn't get Budokai Tenkaichi. You was getting all these games on PS2. These were third-party games. You get what I'm saying? These were games that weren't available on other platforms at the time. These games weren't. They honestly, to be honest with you, they shouldn't have been exclusive. That's why when the 360 came out, that really put a thorn in PlayStation's behind, because they're like, oh snap, how are we going to be able to differentiate the? That's why they went with the cell processor, because they wanted third party to build games off that instead of what Microsoft's doing. But no different than the PS1 in regards to what Nintendo did with the 64. They're like, oh, Sega did with the Saturn. It's easier to develop games with the Power PC of the Xbox 360. So, and they also they prioritized, and then also too, it was one of the first next generation devices at that time. So that's why Microsoft did it. That's why Sony's like, oh, Sony was not planning on dropping the PS3 in 2006. They weren't. Sony was not. They were thinking about they were going to just coast, the PlayStation 2 until 2008 and 9. And then they had to jump into that market share because they're like, oh, snap, Microsoft is coming to take over our market share of what we wanted. That's why they went with the cell processor, so third party could make games exclusively for that, to make games harder to develop on other platforms. Sony did it with even the PS2, but the only reason why developers stuck with the PS2 had more to do with the fact of the install base. That is it. But if you ask a lot of developers, they did not like making games for that console. You get what I'm saying? The GameCube and the original Xbox was much easier to make games on. But you see, they don't know their game in history. But I digress.
It doesn't really matter for another. It doesn't matter if another platform has a better version if that platform doesn't have exclusives.
So hold on. I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. You're saying that there's a group of people out there that may forego buying a laptop pad on PlayStation or Xbox or PC to buy it on the Switch.
No, not yet. I'm saying Sony needs to worry about that happening.
No, they don't, because as long as Sony still continues with this multi-platform strategy and third party, have you guys noticed? You guys get less exclusive games now. That is being taken over by Xbox. Microsoft is your exclusives, not Sony. Sony will throw out one occasionally, one or two. Xbox games, you guys are now Xbox gamers, holding a PlayStation controller. That's what you guys have become. You guys have become the new Xbox fan. Remember, Gamester with another W. Remember when I told y'all this? Remember when I told you this? Remember when I said, y'all know, when I said Xbox is the new PC fanboy, PlayStation will be the new Xbox fanboy, and Nintendo fanboys will be the new PlayStation fanboys. Didn't I tell you guys like, yeah, Games, I remember you saying that. And that's exactly what's going on now. And the funny thing is about all these arrangements that you people keep saying, y'all really don't know where the direction of gaming is going. But I do. It's all going through live service and subscription.
Sony needs to worry about Nintendo coming back in the game and people consider...
No, they're not going to consider Nintendo coming back in the game because you know why? It's not a home console. If Nintendo wanted to come back in the game, they would have made a Wii U 2. They would have made something in the lines of a home console. But instead, they focus... See, this is what y'all don't get. You guys said that Microsoft failed with home consoles, whatever argument you want to make. So they're merging that market with PC, right? See what I'm saying? It's a hybrid between the two. Nintendo, they failed in home console, so what did? They made a hybrid of their home console and a portable console division. Now you guys start, okay, I see what you're saying. Because remember, Nintendo was always popular in portables. So all they had to do was remove the home console and essentially make a portable device that you could play at home, and that was, I guess, their farewell to the home console user. But if you think about it, Nintendo has already left home consoles. That's why it's built like a portable.
I could buy these multi-plats on Nintendo. Sony needs to be concerned about that. Because if
we need to be concerned about playing Chronos at 30 FPS, bruh. Sony needs to be... Man, Sony, unless they, like I said before, man, unless it's getting Grand Theft Auto 6, there ain't nothing Sony and Microsoft got to worry about, man. And the funny thing is, and even if they did get it, ain't nobody going to be playing a Grand Theft Auto 6 version on no Switch 2. It's going to look like trash.
Nintendo, and I had Black Bond, on my, as a guest again, and we talked about it again.
Nintendo ain't coming back.
At a certain point, and how much 4K 60 is 4K? What's better for 4K 60 or a certain performance?
Y'all haven't even got 4K 60. Most of your games is dynamic resolution. Most of your games ain't even hitting a native 4K. I mean, you still believe in this false advertising? You guys haven't even got the 8K at 120 frames, even on last-gen games. What are you talking about, bro? Y'all got 120 FPS option, and the game is still suffering to still continue to keep it at a stable 120 frames. It's like 120 and dipping. It goes from 118 to 10, 94 frames. That's not 120 FPS mode. You might as well make it stay 60 FPS stable.
This is acceptable, right? Certain level of respect to people, but like, you know what, this is good enough. People can't accept a level of performance acceptance when it comes to a third party.
No, they won't. See, what you don't understand, I see the point that you're trying to make, but even though the PlayStation 1 was weaker than the 64 in a lot of cases, it was more powerful in some other departments. But at the same time, they were still very much close. You say that, people dealt with that with the PS2, which is very true, but the PS2 was still giving Xbox and the GameCube a run for its money. But if the PlayStation 2 was running Madden, looking like PlayStation 1 Madden, then I think people will say, I don't want this crap. Don't you think? You keep saying that, they're willing to deal with a worse version of a port and this, and that. Yes, ain't nobody arguing that. But at least the port or the games that we're arguing was still very much comparable. Does that make sense? Like y'all, like okay, I see what you're saying, games. The PS2 was still kind of on the levels of not on the levels of the Xbox and GameCube, but it was still right there. You know, it was still right there, right beside it. It was just the weaker of the three brethren. That's it. But you're making it seem like the PS2 had PS1 graphics, and that's the reason why people bought it. That is not true. Even though they had a worse version of a lot of those games, they still were very comparable. They're like, okay, I get your point, Gameson. This man's making it seem like they're running N64 games on the PS2. Bro, ain't nobody gonna do that for the Switch 2.
The thing that's definitive is exclusives. That's always been the definitive.
It's never been definitive because that's not where PlayStation 1 and 2 got its success from. The vast majority of the games that were successful on PlayStation 1 and 2, besides Gran Turismo and a few countless others, is third party. All the PS2 was a Grand Theft Auto box. Trust me, I had a bunch of friends that had nothing but Grand Theft Auto games. That is it.
That's always been a definitive key holder for a lot of platforms, right?
The best games on PS2, my list from a casual fanboy. Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Grand Theft Vice City Story, Grand Theft... Damn, that's already 5 games of the same. Madden 2002, Madden 2003, Madden 2004, Madden 2005. Matter of fact, I put a lot of Madden, so I put ESPN Football 2K5 with Terry Owens on the cover. That's your 10 PS2 games, sir, of the best games on PlayStation 2? Yes, those are my top 10 games. Why ain't there any exclusives?
So now Sony needs to worry about a future because they didn't have to worry about that from Nintendo for a long time. In fact, their main competitor, which was Xbox, you know, they had the multiplats, but again, I mean, they had the Xbox One X. Definitive console with the definitive multiplats. Would you agree, J-Dub?
Yes.
The best versions of the multiplats. That's not even a lie. In fact, that was the only console that did.
But regardless, even though it was better, at the end of the day, the Xbox One and PS4 was still comparable to the same experience that you was getting on the One X. You were just getting a more redefined experience. That's not what we're arguing. We're arguing 60 FPS to 30 FPS with worse graphics. Everything worse in every single department. Every department, the Switch 2 version, in comparison to the PS. What are you talking about, bro? It's worse in every single category. PlayStation 2 was still running the same, close to the, well, if not the same frame rates as what you was getting on Xbox and GameCube for a lot of titles. It's not the same argument.
Yeah, locked at 30 frames on Hellblade. You know, I didn't even say 30 frames, but, you know, that shit was just broken. Like, you know, so what's the point of saying, oh, we got the best multiplats when everything else you do is just, like, trash? You're like, man, this shit's garbage.
It's
you know?
just a big game. You don't understand.
You know what I'm saying?
don't understand.
So the best version of multiplats, have always been overshadowed by consistent quality exclusives, right?
No, they weren't, because then the quality exclusives would have to be able to outsell the third-party games that people are buying. What are you talking about, bro?
Can take, you know, a lower performing game or a game that's not at the best level, but as long as it's good, it's playable, and it's solid, they'll take that. Plus,
but they're not going to do that for the Switch 2. That's not the same argument, though. You're comparing an upgrade. That's what you're comparing, an upgrade. PS4 Pro. Of course, people ain't going to see that as necessities because they already have a PS4. But you're still getting very much the same experience. Yeah, that's a whole different story. We're talking about Switch 2 with worse graphics, worse resolution, worse performance, worse everything. And on top of that, if you want to make it better, you got to dock it. Which beats the purpose of why you bought this. You know what, man? J-Dub, please talk to this man. This is the first time I ever agree with J-Dub.
The very best exclusives. They'll take that any day. You know, because you can still get your multiplat.
This guy don't know what he's talking about.
You got the exclusive. You got the exclusive bangers and stuff like that. Sony needs to, maybe they might. Maybe they might be realizing that. I don't think, they probably didn't, maybe they didn't realize, you know, they probably know.
This man is writing a check that he cannot cash.
How many more people are trying to support, you know, Nintendo Switch 2. And listen, the third party's not going to switch. They still play these games, and I got the exclusives.
Puertorock, here's the problem that I see Nintendo facing with that. Did you see the Nintendo Direct that happened?
Oh yeah, I don't be watching this shit.
But it got exclusives though. But it got exclusives. So why are we using this as an argument if you don't even care about the exclusive games that they showed?
Oh, me, I'm saying I don't be watching this stuff.
They show Resident Evil, the new Resident Evil game. I forgot what they showed it side by side. Yeah, Requiem. They showed that on the screen side by side next to the PlayStation version. That shit is ridiculous. Why would they do that? That shit looks ass. I mean, it's like it looks horrible. And I thought the Switch 2 was supposed to be a little more powerful and stuff. It looks like it's just, bro. I just don't see anybody, even the most diehard Nintendo. You could have like Baron in here.
Puertorock, just take your L, bro.
Even he would be like, man, I ain't buying that.
I ain't buying
I'm
that.
buy my Kirby, and I'm gonna
Look
buy
at that. You see
my
the
Mario's.
Puertorock knows he's wrong.
Man, they're a mile away. Now, granted, there could be.
But also too, Jada, we can't compare a home console to a portable console. But still, but in regards to Puertorock saying that people are going to buy the Switch 2 in droves in 5 years, if anything, 5 years I see Nintendo doing worse. Because I think that exclusivity magic is kind of wearing off for a lot of Nintendo fans, man. Especially with the Switch 1. A lot of people are still very comfortable with it. I feel like Nintendo is in the situation no different than the PlayStation 2 was, and trying to transition their fans to the PlayStation 3, which is also the Switch 2. I think this is the position that we're in. With Nintendo, I think they're going to do well, obviously, with their hardcore, but I don't see the Switch 2 outselling the Switch 1 anytime soon, bro. I'm sorry, man. And on top of it, you're relying on the same gimmick, just like what Nintendo did with the Wii. The Wii was a success, but what did Nintendo do? Rely on the same gimmick. Wii U, right? Well, this one we got, instead of Switch 1, we got Switch 2. Sounds the same, sounds very similar, right? And I think it's going to do better, of course, but the point still stands that it's not going to do better than the Switch 1. No different than how the PS3 didn't do better than the PS2. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you want to continue to see more of these videos, please make sure you share the video. Leave comments in the comment section or whatever. And like I said, if that's what you want, we can get more of this because there's obviously more of this to cover. Take care.